Have you thought of breaking through? Ain't it part of what you do? Catch a victim while he's dumb, break his larynx with your time, and it's time to get high. Well, this ain't no goddamn dream, it's exactly what it seems. Wake up today just to lay back down and say, I won't be coming back. Let's call it a heart attack. Give me some of that knack. This is just a final payback. They all flipped on me, took my passions, left me be. When I had a place to sit, a goddamn attitude to fit. Talk real smooth, knew where to spit. But things have changed and I have quit. Got nothing to look forward to but a backlash full of lies. You're too late for where you're going. This is fate, the whistle's blowing. It's much too late. It's all too late. You're much too late. Like a piss hole punk with his nose turned up and a fragrance all your own. Tell me what it's like to be alone. And let's not forget the Scarface prick who offers fix to your face. He dropped out of the subhuman race. Sad. Boo-hoo-hoo. But I'm goddamn glad that piece of shit was just a fad. Tell me, boy, where were you? What's your story?
And welcome back to another edition of the Michael Decon program. I look forward to once again serve you those conscious coma-inducing vibrations. Tonight, Jerry Wills makes his return. Jerry is a well-known international speaker, radio and internet TV broadcaster, devoting his life to helping others through his unusual gifts. Jerry is a intuitive healer who investigates the science and history of healing techniques ignored by the modern world for centuries. And I do apologize for that late start. There were some difficulties, but that happens. Now hold on, let me bring in the boys. And Jerry, I want to welcome you to the program. Thank you so much for being here. And Myke, thank you as well for being here.
Don't mention it, buddy.
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation to be on your show, Michael. Appreciate it.
No problem, Jerry. And I had some difficulty there with the software that I'm using. I'm not quite sure what happened, but we are ready to go now. And it seems like we were already cut off somehow Not quite sure why, but see, that's what's been going on here
Just
tonight.
about every show we start
Yeah,
out.
every show we
Let's
start
see,
off, I get cut
if
off.
his icon shuts off, we know we lost him. Maybe.
Oh,
I see his icon up there.
Yeah, so
I'm
do
still
I.
here. I'm still here. We were cut off again.
Again.
I don't know what
Seems
happens
like
here.
the norm every time we start a show, Michael.
I know for some reason we get cut off or something strange happens, but hey, we're back and it seems like we're live. So, gentlemen, again, welcome back. And Jerry, my goodness, as I was saying, I was having all kinds of difficulty here with this software streaming program that I use. There's always some weird setting that I didn't press, or it just stops working altogether.
Don't feel bad about it, Michael. I took a year digging out the worms in this system that we've got here. And, still once in a while, there are things that crop up and it's just beyond your control. It's just stuff happens. And I of course, developed a bald spot and many gray hairs as a result of the frantic.
Did you?
Everything is great. And as soon as you go live, everything goes to hell.
Everything falls apart.
Yep.
Google, it's they're very non-active these days.
Yeah.
So
well, and getting all your programs to talk to each other
can
at
be
the right
good.
time and the right way. Oh, maddening.
Oh yes. But Jerry, I'm glad you're here. We haven't talked in a very long time.
I know it has been, and I'm glad you're still around and doing things as you are. Congratulations on that, Michael.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, it's been a while, and I'm glad that you and Kathy both seem to be in good health, and I hope she's doing well as well as you are this evening.
Oh yeah, she's as dangerous as she ever was. She still has her machete.
And Jerry, for some reason, every time I bring you on here, there's always those individuals out there who will message me asking me to ask you about Peru and how you met Kathy. These are the same questions I got last time.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can talk about that if you want to.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, I must say, I hope you enjoyed your Easter as best as you could.
Oh, yeah. We got some eggs. We didn't boil them. And we ran around in the desert naked, throwing them at each other.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It was a great deal of fun. It's kind of hard to wash off, once it dries. But, just the idea of getting hit somewhere with an egg with Easter written on it, it brings a whole different colorful ambiance to life.
It really does. Jerry, I had no idea you were some sort of nudist now.
Nudist.
Oh
yeah, I'm doing the show naked as we're talking.
Amazing.
Right on.
Kathy's listening naked, as a matter of fact. She usually cooks dinner naked.
To be honest though, Jerry, have you actually ever gone to one of those colonies before? Like a nude place? I know you're out there in the RV, so I'm curious.
Yeah. We that's so funny. We were in Oregon looking for this hot springs, and it wasn't that easy to find. It was way out in the middle of nowhere. And the policy was that after 10 o'clock, it was clothing optional. Well, I mean, that's that's fine with me. I don't care.
Right.
And it was kind of cold. It's cold outside. And I'm thinking, hot springs sound good. I was pretty tired, but Kathy convinced me I should go. Got our bathing suits, got everything ready, got some towels, went out there, fully dressed because it's damn cold. And got to the hot springs, took off my trousers and shirt. Here I've got my swimming trunks on. Kathy's got on her bikini, and it's just cold as hell, so we get in real fast. Well, it was quiet, such solitude. The night sky was just blazing with stars. A bit of a breeze rippling across, but we were a bit sheltered from it. And Kathy says, well, it's after 10, we could take our clothes off if you wanted to. And I said, I don't know, she says, oh, come on. And she takes off her clothes, her bathing suit. Don't be a Debbie Downer. So I said,
Right.
well, there's no one around. So, okay, sure. Negative Ned. So we're sitting there in the hot springs, and oh, hell, that was really nice. It felt great. And so floating around, not really floating around, but it wasn't that big a thing to float in, but it's big enough for maybe 5 people. Very crude, made of cemented together stones out in the middle of field in the middle of nowhere. So just really relaxing. All of a sudden, here comes these people, and they're up there, and they just strip off and come right into the hot tub with us.
Swingers.
I don't know. So this one gal in a very large fishnet, not large fishnet, but I mean the holes were very large in the fishnet thing. She didn't want to get in totally naked, which was bizarre. She's quite drunk. And this one other fellow that was a little short for his weight came bounding in, and then some other people came walking by, and they're stripping off, getting in the other, hot springs tub. Before you know it, we've got like 4 people in ours, a few people down there in those.
Oh my.
And it was getting crazy. They're talking and drinking and smoking pot and just having a grand old time. And of course, as long as I'm sitting there in the water and it's dark, there's nothing really to be worried about. But after a couple of hours, it's like, you probably should get out just to let your body cool off. And of course, I've been driving all day. I was kind of tired. So it's like, Kathy's like, come on, we need to go. And I said, oh, hell no. Well, they might be here to who knows when. Well, okay. So we announced we're going. And the gal that was right next to me kept putting her leg over mine.
Oh.
And kind of scooting over towards me. And then the really heavyset guy was scooting over towards her and trying to make it all cozy, I guess. It's like, okay, time to go.
Swingers, I told you.
got out of the hot tub, just bare ass naked. And of course, that cold wind blowing at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. It's like, oh my God. It was totally dark, so you had to use a flashlight to see how to dress. So yeah, I did that one time.
Sounds like a good time.
Well, if it had been different people, it might have been even better. Who knows?
All right.
Swingers. That sounds like an idea. Well, maybe I should try that.
You never know, Jerry.
You're right. I don't.
It might be good for you.
Well, I like orange juice and pizza. And not that it has anything to do with swinging, of course, but there are things that are good for you that you wouldn't know are good for you until you try them.
That's right.
Orange juice is one of those things.
I agree. And Jerry, from my understanding, you were actually kind of sick months ago, and you felt like you probably had contracted COVID-19.
Yeah, and I don't get sick. That's the hell of it. I just don't. And it's been decades. But whatever this was, it was like having a cigarette burn in the back of your throat. It was that awful painful.
Mm.
And of course, my background working with people who are sick and trying to help them, I've got quite a vast knowledge of things to do. So I started using those things and recovered, as safely as I could. I wouldn't say it was quick because from start to finish is probably 2 months. The worst of it being about 2 weeks. Just hard to breathe. Couldn't smoke a cigarette at all. And just feeling like hell. But, did recover obviously and feeling just fine.
And
oh yeah, there was fever, body aches. I mean, it was hell.
You had all the classic symptoms then.
Yeah, and it was a dry cough to begin with.
Yeah.
Just like they say that you have a dry cough, it was all the same symptoms they say that you have with this virus. And was it? I don't know. I mean, no one had ever heard of this at the time. But I've talked to several people who say that they think they might have had the same thing as well. And how would we know? I mean, if you get an antibody test, but who wants to spend that kind of money to find out? Who the hell cares? I don't.
Right, right. And at what time was this exactly? What month, Jerry?
This was end of December
Ah, okay.
through the first week in January. So it was about a 2-week period there. It took till middle of February to get rid of the cough, and it took until the middle of March to really not have a cough at all. So it just makes you tired as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely fatigued.
Well, some can say it was just the flu, but yours was pretty bad, perhaps.
Well, I it was a flu of some sort, but given all the symptomology that they have suggested goes along with this, it was really right in step with what they say that you have happen, except of course for the pneumonia. But I'm kind of thinking the people who do the worst with this are the people who've had flu shots and inoculations, that sort of thing. Also, folks that have other circumstances health-wise that are an issue for them, like COPD or asthma or diabetes, or the whole host of things. Anything that knocks your body down. I think it just is another step in the wrong direction for getting something like this. I don't know. We're actually very healthy. We don't eat healthy all the time, but who does?
Who does though, right?
Yeah, it's not like we're the shining examples of how to live. That's far from the truth. Of course, I don't drink. I can't because my metabolism.
You can't drink, Jerry.
No.
Oh no.
Not
even a little?
I can't. When I'm on live, you might see it. If your listeners want to watch sometime, it's on Facebook. Just look for Jerry Wells. You'll see me singing to a skull with sunglasses on.
Jerry, I got to butt in here really quickly and say, I have been watching you live for a while now, and the very last time I saw you, you were like drinking out of this little glass, and at first I thought it was like a bong at first, and I was thinking, hey, that looks familiar.
Oh, well, that'd be kind of fun. I
have that in my room.
It's a 1 ounce miniature beer mug sort of thing. It's a one shot deal. Just holds one shot, so it's
right.
1 ounce. And Kathy gives me that much wine. I can tolerate one of those. And if I take another one, then I start getting a little wacky.
Nice.
But if I drink a whole beer, then I'm just plowed. And I don't feel good the next day either. I just feel like hell.
And Jerry, I see on your webpage you have like a list of different supplements to take, and you have something like CBD oil and such. And I was just curious, are you still smoking pot out there?
I don't smoke it. Kathy does.
I smoke it all the time.
It's really good for you.
I think it is. And the reason why I'm asking is because you have that sort of cough going on right there that I do after I, have a few sessions there myself.
Well, it's from cigarettes. And besides, the Arizona desert is very dry. Cannabis actually clears your lungs.
I'm like, Jerry, I know that cough. I was just doing that right now.
Yeah. I have a cough kill switch over here, but
no, that's okay. We like realism here.
Okay, well,
we appreciate it.
Let's get real about this, folks. If you're not smoking pot, you need to reconsider it.
Yeah, it's the end of the world. Might as well.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. But your body runs on cannabinoids.
Right. Naturally, they are in us.
Yeah, they're naturally made inside of you. And whether you're smoking it or eating it as an extract, you really need to be getting some in there because it protects your body.
I agree with you 100%. And Jerry, I must say, my goodness, I can't believe this. Who would have known a Pokemon and a bat would be partially responsible for the collapse of America and the rest of the world?
Yeah, I know. Well,
wait a minute. Wait. This is news to me. What's with the Pokemon?
Well, that's a reference to the pangolin, that little devil that looks just like a Pokemon.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All
There
right.
you go.
I knew the bat. I just didn't know Pokemon, where that came in from.
I had to throw it in there.
Got it.
I've never heard anyone use that as reference before, but you're right. It's well, and I agree. But I think, moreover, and some people do, and everyone's got an opinion, so why not me too? But I think that I think this virus was bioengineered specifically as a weapon, and how it got out. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios you can dream up.
Right.
No one's not going to really know how it got out, but the fact that it was a bioengineered weapon meant to kill people, then that much I believe absolutely.
Has your opinion of the Chinese Communist government lessened in any recent weeks?
It couldn't get any worse than it has been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Amen.
This is a regime that doesn't care about human life at all.
Nope.
So how can you have any respect or concern for a regime that does that? The Chinese people, on the other hand, are great people, and I've met lots of them, been friends with many of them, and I think they're fantastic. But the government part of it, the part that does the iron fist that breaks their necks if they get out of line,
Yep.
no, I don't care for that. I mean, it's just stupid. Well, how can such a thing even exist in the 21st century?
Yeah, I was telling Michael the same thing before we went on air, as I've grown a new hatred for that country. And I used to love China in general. Now I can't stand the government. I got no problem with the people, just can't stand the government after what we've learned. Michael and I doing the interviews that we've done in the last week, we've learned so much, or at least I've learned so much. And I'll tell you, it is absolutely appalling what has happened as a result of the Chinese government.
I agree. The airborne HIV strain is very real, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Jerry. These are very dark times, but quite historical times nonetheless. I mean, they will be writing about this era for years to come, way after we're gone, Jerry.
I think so. It'll be such that lessons will be learned, and I don't know how you'd characterize it except to say that the folks who are not interested in the betterment of life will be exposed, and when they're exposed, the world will shun them.
I agree. And, Jerry, I got to be honest, I've been quite critical of those who have denied the severity of COVID-19, especially those who are pastors out there. And I've been talking to a lot of religious folks, and they've been very angry with me as well, because I don't agree with their views in these large congregations that some of these people have ignored their own city laws now. And the thing is, you are putting yourself in danger, but not only yourself, but everyone else around you and those you come in contact with if you go and congregate with a large group of people that you don't know if they are positive or not. Not everyone will show symptoms. So I know that is kind of bad for those that really want to get into their church. But remember, you are endangering everyone around you.
Well, you have to ask yourself if these are the same kind of people who wouldn't mind going to a movie theater or a shopping mall or a baseball game or any sporting event. If they're willing to go to church to work on their prayers and praise their God, what would stop them from, as I said, going to any of the previous things I just mentioned? I mean,
yeah, well,
it's
exactly.
just stupidity.
I see this going on, and I just think to myself, it probably sounds pretty awful, but it's a culling of the ignorant or the stupid, because when
That's
you
true.
know that something, it's like sticking your hand in a fire. I mean, take a look at this, the snake, the people in the hills of Appalachia that do the snake thing, the Baptist church there.
Yeah.
Handling of the snakes, because it's dictated in the Bible, blah, blah, blah. Well, they get bit and they die. Okay, well, there's one less goofball in the world, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's true. Again, I just can't comprehend why on earth they would be so adamant to not only endanger themselves and their own lives, but the lives of everyone else around them. And trust me, I don't hate certain groups of individuals out there. I'm a humanist at heart. And even if I'm an atheist, I still respect everyone's views and want them to be happy and enjoy their lives, even though I say some pretty negative things here. But that's because it's hilarious. But I really don't want anyone to go out there and get themselves hurt and hurt others as well, especially now with this very dangerous virus out there that a lot of people seem to be downplaying for whatever reason. But I still blame perhaps their ignorance on that, Jerry. Lots of people echoing things that are inaccurate, and it is just kind of sad, but that's thanks to social media, I have to say, Jerry.
And regular media.
And regular media, too.
Hmm. Well, I think you find folks in two different camps. One is going to be that they are in denial because they're so afraid, and this helps them to avoid being afraid.
Ah, yes, the clutching of the pearls, the security blanket.
Yeah. And the other group believes that God will protect them because they're doing a godly thing.
That's right.
Oh, my.
But I don't see that that's happening.
I don't either.
Neither do I.
I don't see God. I don't see aliens intervening with this situation here like many people would like to put out there. For years, Jerry, you heard the same thing too, I'm sure, that aliens would come down and save humanity, that the Messiah in the sky would come down, and basically the same thing. But where's that at?
Well, yeah, the aliens told me that they weren't going to come down and save anybody. It's up to us.
See, there you go.
To save ourselves.
We are on our own.
I tell people that, and they're like, "Oh, I don't believe that for a minute." Well, okay, believe what you want. I'm not trying to change your belief structure. I'm just telling you what I was told.
Right. See, Myke, what you don't know yet is that Jerry has had a number of strange encounters his entire life. Jerry, definitely explain a little bit further about your background.
Well, basically, I've when I was living in Kentucky for about 5 years, I had ongoing contacts with a group. I guess a group. It wasn't really like a large group, but there were these folks who landed in a UFO. I became friends with them. They actually sought me out, and for 5 years that went on. They're very interesting and pleasant individuals. And then fast forward to about, and this was in mid to late 60s when I was just my teens. And then fast forward to the early 90s, I became friends with a fellow named Rich, and he said he was a Pleiadian, which my response was, sure. But then he actually proved that what he was telling me, he didn't prove he's a Pleiadian, but when you see someone land in a flying saucer and get out of it and say, "Hey, Jerry, how you doing?" You know that they're doing something vastly different than 100% of the other people on the planet are doing. So consequently, if he says he's Pleiadian, that's good by me. I don't know where he's from, but he said he was. And we had an ongoing relationship as friends for about 4 years. So, in all the course of time that I had these conversations, which didn't really amount to, it was close to a decade all time totaled, 9 years really. I learned quite a lot from these individuals, and I had questions, and had a chance to have that interaction and ask those questions and get answers. It's for your listeners and those who are wondering, there's no way I can prove this, and I'm not really interested to. It's just something that happened. And the conversations that I had with them, they were quite illuminating at times, such as what I just said, that, they're not going to come down here and swoop in and try to correct the wrongs that are going on at this end. They are helping behind the scenes. And so that's...
Jerry, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is it possible for you to share with us and the audience what type of things that you spoke to these beings about, and what kind of answers did they give you about things?
Golly, there was so many conversations. I'll have to
Well,
think of
something important, something that you would find significant.
Well, okay. Here's something that just popped up on Facebook. I don't know. It's been in the past couple months. I did an interview with Alfred Lamont Weber, and in there, he was asking me some of the same questions. And this was quite a few years ago. And I'd forgotten all about the interview, and I've probably forgotten a lot of what the conversations were. But in this interview, he wanted to know, kind of like you just asked. And I said, back in, gosh, when was this? It was like 2008 or so. He was saying, did they give you any messages about the future? And I said, well, one that kind of stuck out in my mind at that time, apparently. So one that I recall is that there's going to be this virus, and it's going to go all around the world, and it's going to cause a lot of damage, and it's going to change everything in the world as a result of it, or something to that effect. And someone sent me the video clip, having watched it themselves, and I listened to that, and it's like, well, I'll be go to hell. I forgot all about that. But yeah, they did say that. They did tell me about that. They told me about a lot of things. They told me about the the big tidal wave that hit Japan. They told me that because we were talking about places to go that are safe on Earth, and if I was going to go there, that I should be making plans as soon as possible and get to wherever it was I wanted to go. And they gave me some suggestions. Costa Rica was one, Panama was one, Ecuador was another, and then there were several other places throughout South America. And I said, well, what happens if I don't go?
Right.
And they said, well, will I not be allowed to leave the United States? And I was told, no, that's not really what the problem is. The problem is other countries won't allow you in. And now look at the situation we have. I mean, if you want to go to Argentina or Nicaragua or Honduras or Chile or Peru, I mean, start naming off countries, they won't let you in.
No, they won't. It's not easy.
No, you can't go in. Even Mexico is not very friendly towards people trying to get in. They're trying to kick people out.
Very true.
Canada, same story.
Very true. And it's a good thing you didn't go to Ecuador. They are getting nailed with COVID-19 out there.
Yeah, I know. Well, the whole world is.
Yeah, it just seems like they are just really getting trashed right now. Of course, New York is also up there. But my goodness, Jerry. And people are still denying the existence of this virus. It's pretty unusual to read that from many people out there.
Well, I know. But like I said, they fall into two camps. There are the people that believe it's conspiracy to keep people in place and to kind of screw with their mind, if you will. And then the others that are afraid that it is so real that it could hurt them, and so they're in denial and they don't want to acknowledge that it's real. And, that's just how it goes. I mean, that's typical human behavior.
All I have to say is that Darwin was right.
Yeah, about what? Tell me.
Survival of the fittest.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And there's also the scientific fact that, and I've mentioned this multiple times, that it wasn't a matter of if we get a pandemic, and I'm not saying that this is the one, but it's a matter of when we get a virus or some sort of a health threatening bug of some sort, whatever it may be, virus, bacteria, whatever, that eventually it will come to a point where we have a revisit of, sort of like the Black Plague, if you will. And I only know this based on something I recently watched with scientists discussing the possibility of a pandemic in America. And even though we are going through what we're going through right now, this is not it. I can almost guarantee this is not it, because The one that they're talking about is going to be a real difficult thing to break, and it will take many, many lives because they will not have a cure for it.
Hmm. Well, and in line with that, I don't know if the next thing coming is that, but I have somewhere deep in my mind, and I can feel it, like the pit of my stomach, that there's something else that's just ahead. There's something else that's going to happen. And we're going to feel like it's getting better. And then, something else is going to happen. And I don't know what it is. I wish I did. I don't know how to prepare for it. But I just have a feeling that there's something else just ahead. And it's not good.
Well, you know what, Jerry, I agree with what you're saying, that, yeah, there is something coming. But you know what? There's always something coming. And
Unfortunately,
that's how we get by in the world. We learn how to get from problem A to problem B. That's pretty much what life is. Life is just a series of problems that we have to get around because Mother Nature just wants to kill you. And you just have to know how to survive. And as Michael said before, it's survival of the fittest. But eventually, there will come a day when we will be wiped off the map, at least most of us, because it's either a rock coming from outer space or a little tiny microbe that we cannot see. One way or another, it's going to bring us down.
From outer space to inner space, it's always something.
It's always something, my friend.
Yep, and with the coronavirus, they're saying that this thing could attack the immune system like HIV. But then again, that's kind of how it was created in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The ACE2 receptors are being attacked as we speak. And of course, this will plateau and everything will be fine and dandy. Then the second wave comes.
Yeah, whatever the second wave is. And Mike's right. I mean, the world is full of stuff that's out to get you.
That wants to kill you.
That's right.
Yeah. So, you just do the best you can. Then what else are you going to do? Meanwhile,
right.
Don't stop living.
Yeah.
No.
What the hell? I mean, if you're not going to go out and have a good time, then what are you doing?
Yeah, that's what I say.
I mean, with everybody being shut in currently, and I can only speak for America because that's all I really know about. I don't know about all the other countries. But everybody being shut in, yeah, it's really testing a lot of people's patience and their ability to quote unquote survive. But at the same time, this is nothing compared to what it could be. Could you imagine? Just imagine. Let's just say, for argument's sake, one or two scenarios. There's a major nuclear war, or there is a meteor strike that clouds the sky. We plant life dies, animal life dies, and we're down to using bows and arrows or guns or whatever it is to survive. That is when it gets really rough.
That's when it that's when it gets
interesting.
interesting.
Real icy.
That's when it becomes icy. But until then, we're okay. I'm sorry for the people that have died as a result of this virus. It's very unfortunate, and a lot of people have died. But just like every year, there's a flu. It kills up to 20 to 30,000 people every year. So we got a lot. We got a lot to be grateful for, and at the same time, this is just a test.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree.
And Jerry, I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were on Mr. Edward Snowden. He was interviewed recently and said some pretty profound things about COVID-19. And if you haven't heard it, I do have a small clip here I could play a few minutes of for you and everyone else. I think it'd be...
I've not heard it.
It's pretty interesting, and he's right about a few things. Our civil liberties are being eroded as this interview continues here. And, I just wanted to quickly know your thoughts on Edward Snowden. What's your perception of Edward Snowden? Do you think he's the good guy, or do you think he's a villain like the media wants to portray?
Oh, I don't know. I think he, I don't think he's a villain.
I don't either.
I don't really know enough about him except what I've heard in the media, which isn't a good source.
Right.
So, my initial feelings are basic ambivalence until I get more data to actually come up with an opinion that's truly my own.
I hear
But
you.
everything that I've seen and heard gives me the feeling that if he said something, I'd probably listen to it pretty closely.
Understood. And Mike, any perception on Edward Snowden at all?
Let's hear the clip, Michael, and I'll give you my view.
I hear you. All right, let's roll the clip. There we go.
Why does it seem like we're acting like COVID-19 is a never seen before virus, and that this is just out of nowhere, surprise, surprise. You know, we had SARS, we had MERS, we've had these types of things before, and in fact, we knew that we were going to be having more of them, yet we were not set up, or it seems like we were completely taken aback that this is happening now and is having, you know, such a profound effect, when if you talk to any epidemiologist or virologist, they knew that this was going to happen.
There is nothing more foreseeable as a public health crisis for, again, a world where we're just living on top of each other in crowded and polluted cities than a pandemic. And yeah, every academic, every researcher who's looked at this knew this was coming. And in fact, even intelligence agencies, I can tell you firsthand because I used to read the reports, had been planning for pandemics. And yet, when we needed it, the system has now failed us. And it has failed us comprehensively. And the thing that I find grotesque about this situation is that now the people who are being asked to sacrifice the most are the people who are in the most precarious positions, who have the least to give. We're constantly being told we're the richest country in the world. But when people start losing their jobs, when rents become difficult to pay because there's no work for any waitress in any restaurant in New York right now, where are our resources? When our hospitals say they need ventilators, where is all this great technology that's being used to surveil everybody, down to the tiniest toenail, when we need it to create things that actually save lives?
In South Korea, which has been successful in at least flattening their curve, the government's been sending text messages to people who have come into contact with people that they know have COVID-19, which means they know who has COVID-19, they know who they're meeting, they know their text message numbers, they know how to get in touch with them.
The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention uses data provided by local telecommunications companies.
Taiwan is doing a mobile fence, so-called, where if they know you're infected, they're going to put a mobile fence around you, and if you leave, you're going to get in trouble if you leave it's basically your mobile phone is your new ankle bracelet. We look at what China did, including welding certain doors shut, and we seem to be sort of knee-jerk ad hoc, and we're, culturally we can't do this, yet our numbers are through the roof. So are autocratic regimes better at dealing with things like this than democratic?
I don't think so. I mean, there are arguments being made that China can do things that the United States can't. Now, that doesn't mean that what these autocratic countries are doing is actually more effective. There are really only two things that we know to be true. One is that no one knows the true number of infected, because we can only, in the absolute best case, know the confirmed cases of people that we've actually tested. And once you start to layer in this autocratic, or I would argue more authoritarian type of policy structure, what you end up seeing is that instead of policy being guided by science and facts, you begin to see things like information releases becoming political decisions. Now, this is not new. In fact, the Spanish flu around 1918 did not actually originate in Spain. It was actually spreading in World War I through the trenches, where everybody was in terrible conditions. But the militaries of the day had imposed restrictions on what the press could report that could impact the war effort. And so Spain, being a neutral country, was publishing what they were actually seeing in their country. And so we just presumed, because they were the only ones that were telling the truth, that it came from them. Now, we're a little further ahead than that today, but that doesn't erase the fact that people in power who see that there is a political advantage to disguising or concealing or massaging or denying numbers may choose to lie about it. It's happened before, and it's almost certainly happening now.
If you're looking at countries like China, which seems to have flattened, how much can we trust that those numbers are actually true?
I don't think we can. Particularly, we see the Chinese government recently working to expel Western journalists at precisely this moment where we need credible independent reporting from this kind of region. And then there's all of these rumors and initial reports that say things like, the number of urn shipments for burials have gone way up, way beyond what you would expect from the official numbers. And the fact that we cannot get independent verification of the facts gives us reason to doubt the official story. And the reality that we need to accept, which is an uncomfortable reality, is that even in places that are not autocratic regimes, they're going to have a second wave, they're going to have a third wave, they're going to have a fourth wave based on all of the best medical analysis that we have available today. I think I was reading a paper this morning that was from, I think, the Chan School of Public Health at, I think it was Harvard University, that said pumping the brakes is going to have to be the new strategy.
Which means we're at the beginning of, as you say, second, third, fourth waves of this coming. And so all of these measures are going to get more severe. And what then happens to civil liberties, to privacy rights, to democracy? I mean, what are the knock-on effects that you can see?
This is really the central question of this moment in history. What we see is everyone is fearful and hopeless and so worried about today that we have really stopped thinking about what tomorrow will look like as a result of the decisions that we take today. We've seen in countries like Taiwan and South Korea, and spreading also into more Western countries, and of course in the United States where it has begun as well, the tracking and monitoring of the movements of the whole of the human population through the movements of our phones. And it is, I think, something that should raise cause for concern, because when we talk about the applications, and I'm sure we will, they're saying they're using it for contact tracing. This person gets sick. Where did they go? Who may they have come in contact with, precisely so they can produce these kind of text messages that you describe. On its face, it seems like it might be a good idea. There is, of course, a natural presumed benefit here. And yet, this level of contact tracing, this method of contact tracing, does not really work on a pandemic scale.
We're declaring, various states of emergencies here and there, but these have sweeping powers.
What is being built is the architecture of oppression.
And there we go. I played a little too much of that, but that was mostly it there.
Wow, that was pretty interesting.
I agree. It was something else. And now I'm hearing myself echo.
Yeah, I hear that too. Echo.
And there you are echoing too. And now it's gone. But yes, pretty interesting stuff there, wouldn't you say, Jerry?
Yeah, well, he's got some pretty interesting statements going on there, and it was very thought-provoking. So,
especially the last statement mentioning that we are starting to put people under surveillance.
That's going to happen. Well, that's happening
the
here.
scary part.
Yeah.
And I was just finding, because we are, in the capacity for moving around, usually quite freely. But we found out yesterday that if you go into Utah, if you cross the border and go as far from southern Utah's border up north, the first main town you run into is Kanab, you're going to be receiving a text message giving you instructions about quarantine and what are your intentions, and fill out this online form. Now, how do they get your number? Well, it's geofencing. As soon as you come in, they tag that you've come into that area. And if they see that you've gone past a certain point, then you have to stop and fill out a declaration of where you're coming from, where you're going to, what you're going to be doing while you're there, the whole bit. And that's a lot different than a roadblock, of course. But I suppose if you don't fill it out, then they'll send the sheriff or state police after you to find out for themselves. Of course, you probably already heard that if you're in Louisiana and you want to go to Texas, forget it, because they have troopers at the Texas border that are checking IDs. Anybody coming from Louisiana is turned around. That's happening in several states. So this is a pretty weird situation as far as civil liberties and the freedom that you're used to. And I've been telling folks for a while now that nothing really is going to be the same. Once this is over, things are going to be radically different. It's not the same world any longer. It's the same kind of weird shift in reality as it was for 9/11.
Right.
How it seemed like you go outside, everything looks the same. It's the same kind of day as it was yesterday, yet it isn't the same overall. It just looks familiar, but it's not the same. And that part kind of creeps me out because I don't like the idea of needing to answer it to someone about where I'm going and what my intentions are and so forth. I understand that with something highly contagious, it only makes sense. So it's not that I'm against or opposed to it. It's just the idea of it itself.
It's a little much.
Yeah, it is.
It's a little creepy, right, Myke?
Yeah, well, thanks to those POS terrorists who flew their planes into everything on
Right.
9/11, that really started us off with a whole new world or a whole new America. And now, we're just every couple of years, it just seems like something else new comes into play that takes us down a notch. What I mean by that is, I'm only 53, but when I was a boy, I lived in a time, I grew up throughout the Vietnam War, but I was a child. I didn't recognize it as much as what was going on. But as the late 70s, 80s, and 90s came, those were great years. I had 20-some great years. And then the new millennium came and bang, it just like everything, like the shit hit the fan, man. So, yeah, these are some troubling times. But you know what? At the same time, we have to get through it. What choice do we have?
And we have no choice.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like, what choice do you have is right. Because you either just, start marching in step with everyone else or else.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating the idea of constant surveillance or anything like that, because that's not the kind of government that I think most people want, except maybe some of the hard left who wants more government. I personally, I don't want more government. I want less government. But it's just so complicated. It really is a touchy subject.
It really is touchy, but you got to remember, Myke, before 9/11 happened, our government was informed about this by other intelligence agencies around the world. And, well, it happened. And look at COVID-19. They knew as well that this would happen. And my goodness, Myke, another coincidence. Look what happened.
Yeah.
Well, what most people are not talking about that I think is quite interesting. I tend to look in the corners where people don't look, lift up the rug and look under to see what's there, metaphorically speaking.
Right.
Well, I'll base this on telling you a short thing. A good friend of ours was a very well-known individual. His name was Ingo Swann.
Oh, yes.
and he's a good buddy. Well, now if they had it then, that program never died. They maintain something somewhere where they're referring to psychics and people who have extraordinary abilities that can talk about these things, see these things, know these things. And if any of them are as good as Ingo, well, my God, they must have the cream of the crop. So none of these things that happen, I don't think, are just out of the blue. I think they see these things that are potentials in the future, or realistic things that are taking place and will affect us eventually. And they already start figuring out strategies to deal with it. So, none of this stuff that's going on now is remarkably out of the unknown. It is for a lot of people, but I think there are people in some places that know what this is, what's going on and what's going to happen. And a good point of reference with that is when I met that fellow that said he was a Pleiadian. His name was Rich. He told me about things that were going to happen in the near and distant future. Well, everything he told me, that I remember anyway, has come to pass. Everything. Now, how would they know? And I asked him this: is how would you know about something, that many years in the future? And he told me that moving through time was no more difficult for them than moving through space. He said space and time, they're interconnected. And the time doesn't really exist, it's perception. Well, he went into a little bit more detail than that, but that's kind of what I got out of it. So, for folks who can tag into some future event, or for, I guess, the Pleiadians or whoever can move through time and then come back, they know what's going to happen. And I'm sure the people in high places also knew about this and also knew what the outcome was and what's coming next. And that leaves the rest of us who fall somewhere between pretty well endowed with the capability of being psychic to those who have zero acumen for it, just sort of looking around, scratching our heads and wondering, well, the next shoe is going to drop. What is it?
Right.
And I think that's where we are. I feel there's something ahead. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure there's someone somewhere who does. And how do you manage life with that sort of thing? And of course, the other point with that is, if they did know that something was going to take place, they couldn't tell anybody. My God, the people, generally speaking, if they knew that something was terrible that was coming their direction, they would just lose it. They'd just go nuts. There would just be a complete breakdown of society. So I guess with good reason, it isn't really talked about or disclosed, but still, it'd be nice to have some inkling. At least that's what I think.
I think it's the elite or the well-informed or extremely intelligent that end up figuring it out. And then those who are less educated and have less knowledge in reading between the lines, for lack of a better term, those are the people that are going to most likely suffer. Not necessarily, but maybe most likely.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Like all things, you have to be educated and knowledgeable about what it is you're trying to understand. That includes everything from government to anything really. Some people read books on mathematics and become mathematical wizards, but if you don't understand the basics on, say, cooking, you're not gonna know that knowledge on how to survive in the wilderness by, I don't know, trapping a rabbit and skinning it and eating it.
Yeah, Kathy knows how. She has a
good.
machete.
Good. Okay.
Kathy's
Shit,
cutting
it
all
was-
kinds of stuff out there.
Yeah. Oh, geez. She tells me stories growing up on the farm, things that I shouldn't even repeat.
I know, right? Those stories are pretty remarkable.
Like pig's feet soup. Oh, good
Oh.
heavens.
Lord.
I don't think I could eat that.
She brains and scrambled eggs.
Ooh.
What, Kathy?
Oh God.
That's a little too far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, I told you.
It's crack.
And fried pig skin.
Oh. my
You got your own.
God.
You got your own wet market there, Jerry.
Yeah, well, I wet something. I think I wet my pants.
My goodness! But you know,
Let me check. Hold on a second. There it is.
I know how to make.
But no, she grew up on a farm. She had to know how to kill and dress animals and
Right.
grow a garden and be completely self-sufficient. And that's just part of her background, her upbringing.
yeah.
So, if things go wacky, then I suppose I guess I'm safe. Do you know how to cook rattlesnake, Kathy?
Yeah.
You do?
That's the easiest.
Skin them and everything.
Very, very good. Actually, very meaty.
Yeah, I
No-
think
no
I've
fat.
ate snake before years ago.
Yeah, that might be kind of fun. Let's put together a recipe for rattlesnake chili.
That sounds good.
Yeah, rattlesnake chili. That sounds good. I've never had it, but just the idea of it. Tell your friends, come on over. We're having rattlesnake chili tonight with cracklings.
That sounds
Right.
good with a little bit of bacon on the side.
Oh yeah, a whole lot of bacon. Hell, that's dessert.
I'll bring some
very
armadillo
nice.
stew.
You'll bring
Okay,
you'll
yeah.
bring a pangolin.
Yeah, just grab a possum, bring it on with you.
Yeah, I can't even believe people would eat possum, and some people do.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
you know what? My when I was growing up, my grandmother lived in a place called 88, Kentucky, which is in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky. And she would she ate that. So possum, groundhog, squirrel, rabbit, pheasant. I don't know about crow, but nobody wants to eat crow.
Yeah, not
That's
much
right.
meat on that.
Yeah, squirrel. I know when we were in the living in South America, they had a delicacy there called cuy, and that is guinea pig. They grow guinea pigs. They raise not grow, but they raise guinea pigs specifically because cuy is like a national super duper favorite meal. It's an honor to eat it. It's like we have turkey at Thanksgiving. They have cuy. They don't have Thanksgiving, of course, but if it's a big celebration, they have cuy. Well, hell, they also eat llama. But I was at in the middle of the Andes Mountains, and they made a meal in my honor, and I could have bear or cuy. Now, cuy looks like a rat. Imagine a singed rat, dead singed rat on a stick.
Mhm.
It's just ghastly. And
That's a good way to describe it.
so when Kathy thought it tastes like squirrel, she ate some of it, but tastes like rabbit. Okay, sorry. And I opted for the bear because I've had cuy and I did not want that again. So I had the bear. And it was like, you ever get some of that really that double bubble chewing gum? You just keep chewing it, it gets thicker, and it just well, that's what the bear was like.
Wow.
It was like kind of like eating dog.
Yikes.
Oh, eating dog. How would you know what
She's
was
eating a
like to
dog.
eat dog?
I don't know. I'm not even going to look in her direction.
God, I don't even want to know.
Oh my.
I don't blame you. I don't want to know. Kathy, don't tell me how you know about eating dog.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it.
Is Kathy from
no.
China?
Yeah, I know they eat them in China.
Oh,
And I'll
boy.
tell you what, in Peru, you walk around the streets of Lima, you do not see cats.
Oh no. Poor
Strange.
poor kitty.
They eat it.
Well, the Chinese restaurants, they capture them, butcher them, and serve them, and that's part of the Chinese meals there is cat.
Oh,
It's sick. It really is.
Oh my God.
how can you eat a poor little cat?
I know, it's just...
I
sit down back
heard a
there,
meow
Kathy.
back there.
I know she's trying to. Yeah, anyway, let's not go into that. But I was in the city uh, in north central Peru, and I wanted a hamburger really bad. I just really wanted a burger.
Oh no.
So I told them, I want a burger. So they served me a burger. It took a while, but they served me a burger. Now I didn't know it at the time, but it was ground up horse heart.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. And when I found out, it was like, damn. But the worst of it was breakfast. Same town, different restaurant.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
How
Wait till
could
you hear
it
this,
get
guys.
worse?
You're in the middle of this amazing North Andean Peruvian city. What was the name of that place anyway? Cajamarca, yeah. And it's like a pretty nice place. And downtown. And the order was I wanted scrambled eggs, toast, and bacon. Well, that sounds like a reasonable request, don't you
Right.
think?
Yeah.
Okay, so I waited and waited. They brought out the toast first. It was cold. It was hard like a sardines cracker. It was just absolutely like a crouton would be, except as a whole piece of bread, like a crouton.
Did you say sardine cracker?
Yeah, well, no, it was saltine cracker.
Oh, okay. Because I just right over my head. What the hell is a sardine cracker? I'm asking.
Yeah, I probably had too much to drink or too much to think or something.
You can never have too much to
bring out
drink.
bread and they bring out the butter. The butter is sitting in a pool of ice. You cannot put it on the bread. So I'm not eating that. I'm drinking the Sanka instant coffee. Next, they bring out a platter that you would put a turkey on full of scrambled eggs. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this? And I said, okay, well, I'll just give me a plate and I'll just take some. They brought me a plate. I guess I thought I was going to eat off that. And about 15 minutes later, they bring an even larger platter. This is my bacon, except this is pig's ears that are deep fried.
Pig's ears. Wow.
Pig's ears with the hair still on. A huge, the mound of it was like maybe a foot tall, just mounded up on this huge platter. And I'm looking at the thing, what the hell's wrong with you people? All I wanted was a couple of scrambled eggs and a few pieces of bacon and some toast. So I got up and left.
Smart.
I didn't understand.
The interesting thing about all this talk about eating animals is this. We can sit here, Michael, and talk about Jeff's experiences with
Jerry.
eating in other countries, like eating guinea pig or whatever. And when we can sound repulsed to it, eating a horse's heart, it could be repulsive sounding to us, but yet still, we cook cows and turkeys and chicken and whatever else that we, pork and all these other animals, and it's pretty much the same thing. We give a hard time to the Japanese who are still whaling, go figure, but and killing these animals, even dolphins, and they kill these intelligent creatures, and yet we are repulsed by that. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a vegetarian. I wish I was, but I can't. And I love animals very, very much. So when I see how these other cultures survive by eating other animals, yeah, it's a little effed up, but what can you do?
Hey, Aborigines are eating big old grub worms out of the ground. It's all what you're used to.
That's right. So
I'm not used to llama or guinea pig.
Right. No, we're used to the standard American dishes like hot dogs, hamburgers, and stuff like that. So, sure. and you know what? It's really sort of kept from us. Here's the thing. Americans have lost that ability to know what it's like to have to raise and kill your own livestock.
Oh, sure.
And I guarantee it, if people knew what it was like to have to raise goats, chickens, sheep, cows, pigs, and slaughter them yourself, I guarantee you there'd be a far less waste in this country, and there'd probably be a lot more vegetarians too.
You're probably right.
Because if you go back 60 years, even 50 years, like when I was a boy, my parents had ducks and chickens, and my other relatives had goats and farms. So they were raising their own livestock and slaughtering those animals themselves to provide for their families. Today's generation doesn't understand when they go into McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King and they get a hamburger. If they take a couple bites and then they toss it out, they don't even realize these animals were killed.
They were slaughtered.
They were slaughtered in these death factories, in which they have horrible conditions. They don't live their lives, these poor animals. And the younger generation doesn't even know what it's like to have to to understand what they're being given and to be thankful. How many times have you gone to a wedding and so many people that are at their seats, they don't eat their plate, whether it's filet mignon, lobster, chicken, fish, whatever it may be, and then the whole plate gets thrown out.
Yeah, there's no appreciation for it.
Oh, that's my point. That's my point, Jeff.
Jerry, you mean?
Jerry, I'm sorry. Did I call you Jeff? I'm sorry. Did I say that before too?
Well,
I'm not holding it against you.
We had a
Jeff's
guest.
a fine name.
Yeah, we had a guest named Jeffrey. That's why.
That's what it is. I'm very sorry. Sorry, Jerry.
No, that's okay, Tom.
It's also because Myke hates this one gentleman, another musician by the name of Jerry. So yeah, it's a habit of his, right, Myke?
I don't mind at all, Hank. I think
Hank.
it's just fine. It doesn't bother me. I've been called worse, and Kathy usually is the one who does it.
That Kathy.
Yeah,
she's a killer. She's a killer. She might poison you, Jerry. Be careful.
I don't think she'll do that. She doesn't know how to run the computer like I do. She can't drive the Phaeton, so I'm safe.
Oh, that dog meat she was eating.
Oh, that dog meat, yeah.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Stop dancing around, Kathy. You're not going to poison me.
If I was going to, I would have done it by now.
I know. After 22 years, I'm still breathing.
That's a good sign.
She's like Carol Baskin.
What's that?
That's the lady from The Tiger King.
Oh, I've not seen that. I don't know the
gotta
rest.
see it.
Oh yeah, you
We've
have to
all
see it now.
seen it.
Yeah, we all have.
If I would have poisoned him by now.
Well,
I'll check it out.
yeah, you definitely have to watch that if you haven't seen it yet. Tiger King, good stuff there. But yes, the woman by the name of Carol. It's on Netflix. It's a documentary series.
A short series documentary about one of these exotic animal trainers that was from Oklahoma, and now he's serving time in jail for attempted murder.
Oh, well, what a thing.
Yeah, it was an interesting story. It was Michael, actually, who turned me on to it. He's like, you got to see this movie. You got to see this documentary. And normally I wouldn't watch something like that, but I did, based on Michael's approval rating. And it turned out to be...
Changed his life.
Gripping. Changed my life.
Changed your life.
All right. Well, my mind's polluted. I'll go check it out.
Okay.
Very nice. Very nice. So, Jerry, you've been holding up as well as Kathy through this pandemic, through the end times, correct?
Yeah, so far, holding each other up, as long as we can. It gets a little tiresome, but I don't mind picking her up once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people out there who have committed suicide, even on the younger side. There's been some young kids even offing themselves because of this new world that we now find ourselves in. And of course, Forbes released an article recently that said Americans are excessively eating, drinking, smoking pot, playing video games, and watching porn while quarantined. And I have to say, what else would you expect?
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, Kat, we should start watching porn. Everyone else is.
Yeah. Why not?
The server's probably going to be bogged down.
Well, we have a fast connection,
Wait until the quarantine's over.
Well, I don't
Then
know
we
if I
can
can.
do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it? Where would you suggest watching porn at? Do you have any ideas, guys?
For a while.
Where? Like maybe in your RV?
No, not like inside or outside.
Oh, okay.
Way too personal.
What do you wear when you're watching porn? No, that's all right. Don't answer that.
You
I
have
was
to
about to
ask.
answer.
What?
Then you
Yeah,
said no.
that's-
Proof vest.
Bulletproof vest? Yeah, I suppose chainmail, perhaps.
I wear a face mask. You know, I keep it kinky.
Oh,
You just don't want to be discovered.
That's true. Well, the good thing is I don't have a webcam on here.
oh, well, see, there's your
I
problem.
don't have the CIA watching me.
Yeah. Like
They
the
watch
CIA wants to see you doing dirty things to porn.
They already do.
Do they?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure there's someone who works for the
They
CIA.
have the logs. They know where you've been.
Yeah, I'm sure they're watching at all times what you're doing online, and I'm sure they get off on it as well.
We must be very interesting.
That's because we're interesting. You know, think of the mundane lives they must be leading, and how we have brightened their day just by our presence. You know,
I
our
agree.
routine. It brings an interesting aspect into the lives of others, one way or the other.
So pitiful.
You just need to start paying.
Well, I suppose good point there.
I want money for if they're going to watch me. I want money.
Yeah, put a donation link on there, and just,
There you go.
A PayPal link at the bottom.
exactly.
That'll work.
Donations.
So, Jerry, we are coming to a close very soon here. I don't want to take up too much of your time this evening. But, Jerry, where can people listen to you primarily?
Well, there are two ways. The first is through our membership site. It's on Patreon. So it's Patreon, patreon.com. Then /, and the word is expeditions, like we're going on 2 expeditions next year. But instead of EX, it's just X. Expeditions, expeditions. Otherwise, that's membership site. So it's a monthly charge. And of course, there's a lot of groovy stuff on there. So you might want to check it out, folks. The other is to go on Facebook and look for, facebook.com /expeditions TV. Still Expeditions, not EX. Expeditions TV, all, string of letters. And you'll find me on there. Otherwise, you look for Jerry Wells on Facebook, and you'll see a picture of me holding a skull that's in the Paracas Dunes above the South Pacific by PSAC. No?
Jerry, can you tell us real quick some of the topics that you talk about on your show?
Well, on my show, I interview scientists, researchers, and people who have had very strange encounters. I had the Navajo Rangers on, for example. I had the folks at Board Camp Mine on, and I've had Dr. Robert Melamed. He's a PhD geneticist talking about cannabis. I've also had a couple of doctors talking about hormonal replacement therapy, and another talking about women's health issues. And it's just kind of it's just a lot of different things that, Edmund Marriage, probably never heard of him, but he is a fellow from the UK, and he's made some extraordinary discoveries about our ancient past. He's going to be on coming up soon. Jonathan Reed, he's going to be coming up soon. Clifford Mahudi, he'll be coming up soon. And Daryl Sims, he'll be coming up. He's the alien hunter. He'll be coming up soon. And then I also do a part on there called Healers Health Tips, where I start the program by telling people the things they can do so they can be more robust and to help themselves to stay healthy, or if they're not well, how to get well. And it's not doctor advice. It's just because that's my day job. I'm a healer. I see all these things. I know how to navigate around and give people ideas about things to do. On the Facebook page, that's kind of like fun and games. Just no specific topic. Just start responding to people's comments and just take the conversation from there. And usually it's only supposed to last about 30 to 45 minutes. But with this pandemic thing going on, it's been going 2 and 3 hours at a time.
Oh, my.
Because people just want to talk and want to have that kind of connection. And so it's been a really interesting time in that respect. So, and it's all video. It isn't audio. It's all done with video. Well, you've seen it, Michael.
Not like this cheap station, right?
Hey, this is high quality, and there's really a place in the world for audio only broadcasts. I think it's great.
Absolutely, Michael does a great job. I love his show, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Well, you both do great. I'm impressed. I mean, you guys are a hell of a team. And
thank you.
Thank you.
From my end, being the guest, I'm really privileged to be here with you guys in this format. You are just amazing at how well you integrate and do things together. I'm just very happy to be a part of this. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting us over, Jerry. And of course, you do a fantastic job out there. And it's always fun to hear Kathy jump in there during your live streams. And I have always, I've always been amused and fascinated by both of you. I love both of you very much. I've always been very fond of you two living out there, doing your thing, going to Peru, going to all sorts of strange lands, foreign lands, and having these just incredible adventures that you've had. Both of you have had, Jerry.
Well, thank you. It's not been a usual life, that's for damn sure. And when we started this broadcast, you want to know how Kathy and I met? We should do that another time.
We definitely have to jump into that. But thank you,
Michael.
Yes.
Before you hang up on Jerry, I got to tell you, you heard what he said at the end. He said he's very impressed. He likes how things are going with us, and we're doing a good job. I want a raise, pal. I want a raise, and I want my union benefits.
Wait a minute, not the union stuff, all right?
Oh, no.
Let's not go there. Oh, you're from New Jersey. That's why you said that.
Okay.
That's all right. It's understandable, but forget it.
Forget about it. Hey.
Forget about it.
Hey.
We got Tony Danza here. We got Tony Danza as my co-host.
That's super.
Still,
Amazing.
Jerry, thank you so much for those compliments. That means a lot to me.
Right.
And I'm assuming Michael as well.
Of course.
Absolutely. You guys deserve high praise. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And take care out there, both you and Kathy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
It was a privilege to be here. I really appreciate it, guys. You take care as well.
Clockwise. Mahalo, my friend.
Take care,
Mahalo.
Jerry.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And there he goes, boys and girls, the one and only Jerry Wills. Great guy, great guest, great broadcaster as well. We like Jerry out here. And Myke, I hope you enjoyed that interview.
Interesting. He's got a lot to talk about, I'm sure. I have to admit, I haven't heard the radio show, obviously, but that's a lot of these guests I'm just getting to know for the first time. You've known them far longer than I have, so you know their backgrounds more so than I do. So every time we do an interview, I kind of learn a little bit about each guest and try to take my notes and keep up with who they are and what they do.
Oh, that's the best part, though, Myke.
Indeed.
Learning about these individuals. And by the way, I'm sure lots of people didn't understand the Jerry reference I threw at you there.
Oh, I knew what we were talking about.
Oh, but you knew.
Yeah.
You knew right away.
Yeah. For those of you who know me, we'll just use the initials J.O.
You afraid of Jerry now?
No, not at all.
I was gonna say, look who's afraid of Jerry only.
Not me. I mean, what have I got to be scared about? I mean, I don't talk to the guy and everything. Look, what happened 20-some years ago, 22 years ago, it happened. It's over. I'm over it. I couldn't care less. I have absolutely no desire and no interest in the Misfits anymore, and I've moved on. I got nothing against Jerry anymore. I really don't. I really have nothing against him. Whether he has against me, that is yet to be determined. I don't know.
I have a lot of things against him still.
Do you?
Sure.
Such as?
He ruined the band. How do you Yoko Ono your own band?
I'm
right. I'm not telling lies here. It's true, Myke.
Yeah, well, he's a very, what's the word? He's a very obsessed person when it comes to running things, whether it's his own things or things that aren't his, and he's very controlling. So that's pretty much all I can say.
Well, they always are.
Whatever. I got nothing. I got nothing to comment.
Water
about.
under the bridge. I know. I'm just teasing
Water
you, Myke.
under the bridge. Yep.
I just like to mess with you every now and then.
That's all right. You can mess all you want, buddy.
It's amazing. And my goodness, we did have one more audio clip to play of Alex Jones, but we should save that for tomorrow when we have the professor in the house, Mr.
Jim Fetzer.
There you go. I was waiting for you to say that.
I knew it.
You knew it, didn't you?
I sure did.
My goodness.
I'm just going to turn off my mic and he can do all the talking.
You're just going to let him roll? He's going to get out of the way of the freight train, huh?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's probably the best thing you could do.
I got to tell you, man, what Jerry said tonight was very flattering. And I'll tell you,
it was, yes.
I got to say, I've been getting some seriously positive comments from people who are listening to the show and really think that we've been doing a good job together. And you know how much I respect the show, Michael, and I certainly, and I've even talked to you off the air. I don't want to step on your toes. I don't want to cut in too much. I mean, this is your show. This is the first time for me, so it's like a learning experience. But at the same time, I get excited when we do these interviews, and there's a lot of questions I want to ask.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's just good to be on, and it's good to know that we're doing something that's really affecting those who our listeners who are making good comments, and that's a really good feeling. So I'm happy you said that.
Oh, I'm with you on that. And matter of fact, I was gonna say thank you to all those people that have been emailing me and putting us over. They've reached out to me just this week again, and I've said this plenty of times before we pull this show down Larry Silverstein style. There's been lots of folks out there who had sent in emails, and they've been very flattering. I'm telling you, it gets a little dusty in here with some of these emails, some heavy duty emails that come in that I've never expected. That
compliments for the show?
Well, compliments, and the fact that some individuals are, I don't want to out them too much, but there's some people that have been going through like divorces or a breakup or just all sorts of things, and they tell me that they listen to the show and it gets them by and X, Y, and Z, and thank you so much. And it's just, I'm not used to that.
It's a great feeling.
Well, I'm not used to it, even though I've been doing this for so long, and I get these emails pretty regularly, Myke, and I still don't know how to respond many times, Myke.
Well, I mean, you're making people, you're giving a service, providing a service for people of entertainment, and those people who listen and are enthused by the show and by your service as a host. I mean, what can you say? You say thank you. And are you a person that doesn't accept flattery well?
Oh, I accept it. It's hard to really respond in a way that would probably help them in any kind of way because of what they write to me. It's pretty heavy duty. There was one guy who was thanking me because I changed his life, as he said, and now he's following a different path. He's into politics. And that's basically what he's doing in his life right now. He knows who he is. He's in Canada. And, I get emails like that, Myke, and it's like, shit, how do I respond to this?
Well,
changed your life. I mean, fuck.
I know. And not to brag, but in a comparison to comments that you're getting like that, I've gotten emails and letters.
Of course, Myke.
Before email was even big.
Yeah.
From people who were fans of Empire Hideous.
Well, Myke, I'm one of those people. Remember, way back in 2006 when I first contacted you.
That's right.
I was one of them.
But the thing is, what I'm getting at is some
ahead.
of the people that have written to me have told me, I've been a Hideous fan for X amount of years. uh, I went through some really hard times, and your music actually helped get me through those times. And it's a flattering moment,
Oh, big time.
and it really makes you feel good, um, knowing that you were able to bring some light, uh, so to speak, to someone's life and make them just happy.
Yeah, that's really what it is. And I'm telling you, there were some in there that the room got dusty, Mike, I have to admit.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
it happens.
It does.
It really does, especially when you don't expect it.
That's usually when it does happen.
Yeah.
You don't always expect to somebody to really give you a compliment like that, especially a really a compliment where they're telling you they've changed you've changed their life.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy duty stuff there, Mike.
I know.
I don't take
yeah.
it lightly, but I appreciate those people. I admire
course.
them, and I want them to continue listening and stay on the right path.
I had a vision a couple days ago about you and I with this show. Just I don't know. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I think I was watching something on television, and I just thought, gee, I always wondered if we got to the level of doing like a talk show. Not that this isn't a talk show, but a talk show level where like it's visual and we're in a big studio interviewing big people and big time people. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird thing.
So you had like a sort of like an Ed McMahon moment there.
Yeah, I was in the dark thinking of you.
You weren't at a nudist colony, were you, Mike?
I was, in fact, right in my house. I was nude.
Oh boy. But can you believe that Forbes article? I mean, they're acting like they're so surprised that Americans are eating, drinking, and smoking pot during the
pathetic.
quarantine. Like, what do you expect Americans to be doing at this time?
I mean, and not for nothing, that's not the only thing people are doing. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of potheads out there who are sitting
Sure.
around their computer watching, you porn all day long. But and I'm
Right.
not one of them.
Really? You're not one of them, Mike?
I swear, I've never touched myself in my life.
You no pun intended, but you came out pretty fast there. That Pornhub or that Pornhub
I never did it.
reference.
I swear.
You closed your eyes. It didn't count.
I crossed my fingers.
My goodness, Mike. So tomorrow we are back and live yet again, same time with the professor, Jim Fetzer. Mike, are you ready for that?
Sure.
You're like, I think I'm good for that. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah.
We'll find out. And now I'm sure you can hear the helicopters flying over my house now.
Holy crap.
Can you hear
yeah.
that?
Wow. That's loud.
Yeah, they get even lower sometimes.
Wow. That's military, I'm assuming?
Well, the naval facility is really close by, so they fly really low and they wake everyone up.
That's pretty wild, man.
I like it though. It's kind of cool.
I think I would probably enjoy it myself too. But when I used to live, before I lived where I live now in Pennsylvania, I used to live in a town called Kearney, New Jersey, which was about about 20 minutes from the Newark airport, Newark International Airport. Probably 5 minutes away. With all the traffic, it takes you 20 minutes to get there. And I'll tell you, when those jets would come down, every once in a while they change the flight path. And so the planes would come down for a landing, and I swear to you, Michael, they sounded like they were going to land right on the roof. That's how low they would come. You could see people waving out the windows as it flew by.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And there's been some accidents out here, too. People
really?
Crashing and shit, yeah.
From the naval base?
Not that one. There was another place near Imperial. It's a little bit further away from where I am. It's like the next town over. And when I say that, I mean it's like 5-6 minutes away.
And it's an airport.
Yeah, there's an airport there, but there's all sorts of people that fly into there. And there was a crash, I recall, several years ago. And the guy was probably drunk.
Oh boy.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It was a plane crash or helicopter?
I believe it was a plane.
Wow.
Yeah, if you go online and look it up, you'll probably find it. Yeah, but that guy was drunk. So, Myke, my goodness, we will return tomorrow, and I do want to thank you yet again, Myke, for hanging out here and doing the show with me. It's been fun.
You don't have to thank me, buddy. I feel like I'm a part of the show now.
Well, you definitely are, Myke. And with that said, I want everyone to stay safe, no matter where you are on this island Earth. And with that said, Myke, the world is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. Until next time, good night, everybody. Say good night, Myke.
Everyone.
There you go. You got it, Myke. Take care, Myke.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye-bye.